Welcome to the sixth session now for discrete time Fourier transforms, and in this session what we are going to discuss is, in the last session we had an example that x n what we have considered was half, 1 and half, and we transformed it into x omega, which is 1 plus cos omega. So, this sequence is having value 1, half and half at 3 points, and in the rest all points are zeros, 0, 1, minus 1, and rest all things minus 2 plus 3 minus 3, all points are zeros. That is, this is the sequence. And we have found that x omega is 1 plus cos omega, that is straight away it is e raised to minus minus half e raised to minus minus j omega, that is e raised to half e raised to minus j omega, half e raised to minus minus j omega. So, straight away it is getting the things added, and we get half remains outside, e raised to j omega plus e raised to minus j omega is 2 cos omega. So, half and 2 is cos omega, and for this we get 1. So, the DTFT also here plotted, that is for pi by 2 and pi. So, and this is a 2 at n equal to 0. Sorry, 2 at omega equal to 0, pi by 2, pi, minus pi by 2, minus pi, and it is straight away a cosine wave form around 1. So, it is straight away cosine wave form plus 1 is added. So, 1 plus cos omega. So, at omega equal to pi, cos omega is 0, sorry, cos omega is minus 1. So, 1 plus this is minus 1. So, it is a waveform, it is a cosine waveform So, if we plot, if I shift the axis, it is simply cosine waveform, the 1 plus cos omega. So, it is not showing because of poor drawing, it is not seen symmetric, but we will try to make it. So, it is all right that yes, you have drawn this x n, you have drawn this x omega, then how this x n and x omega are related to each other. So, what is the significance of what the question is, what I exactly understand from x omega? X omega corresponds to what? So, listen very carefully, I am sure that you will not understand, and then I will make you to understand by explaining it further. The discrete time Fourier transform is found out means I am attempting the given sequence, discrete sequence, to be comprised of the components I know, and each component is rotating point. Each component is rotating point. Then in the previous lecture only we discussed that it is not so easy. Therefore, somehow a smart student questioned me, I got puzzled, and then I found out the way, and the way is that it is summation of infinite components, summation of infinite components. If it is summation of infinite components, what will be amplitude of each of those components? By common sense, it would be very less or negligible. Then now I make a statement, I am sure that you will not understand that statement, and once it is very clear that you do not understand, we try to simplify it further so that you understand. So, the value of discrete, listen very carefully, value of discrete time Fourier transform at some given omega is the relative weightage of the infinitesimally small component of that frequency which exists in xn. मराठीत सांगतो, दिलेल्या ओमेगाला एक्स ओमेगाची व्हॅल्यू म्हणजे त्या अँग्युलर फ्रिक्वेन्सीनं बदलणाऱ्या डिस्क्रीट सबसिक्वेन्सची रिलेटिव्ह ॲम्प्लिट्यूड. पुन्हा मराठीत सांगतो परत, दिलेला सिक्वेन्स एक्सएन हा वेगवेगळ्या सबसिक्वेन्सेसच्या बेरजेचा बनलेला आहे, पण साध्या बेरजेचा नव्हे, वेटेड ॲडिशनचा. दिलेला एक्सएन हा वेगवेगळ्या रोटेटिंग वेगवेगळ्या सबसिक्वेन्सेसची वेटेड सम आहे आणि यातला प्रत्येक सबसिक्वेन्स हा रोटेटिंग पॉइंट आहे. तो रोटेटिंग पॉइंट एका ठराविक फ्रिक्वेन्सीचा आहे, एका ठराविक रेडियसचा आहे आणि एका ठराविक स्टार्टिंग पोझिशनचा आहे. आणि असे किती सब कंपोनंट्स आहेत, तर असे इन्फायनाईट सब कंपोनंट्स आहेत. आणि अँग्युलर फ्रिक्वेन्सी किती आहेत, -π पासून π पर्यंत आहेत. इन्फिनिटी म्हणले की थोडी आपली अडचण होणार. तर ओमेगा इक्वल टू π/2, ओमेगा इक्वल टू π/2 ला ओमेगा इक्वल टू π/2 ह्या व्हॅल्यू करता किंवा -π/2 करता, फॉर ओमेगा इक्वल टू π/2 value of x omega is 1 plus cos π/2, that is 0. So x omega is 1. For omega equal to π/3, for omega equal to π/3, that is 60 degrees. For omega equal to π/3, value of cos omega is half. So value of x omega is 1.5. So I find that there are different values of x omega for different omegas. Then how do I proceed? I proceed by simple logic that these values correspond to what? These values actually is not the amplitude. This concept should be very clear, that value of x omega, the given sequence xn is presumed to be summation of multiple subsequences. Each subsequence is nothing but a rotating point on some given radius with some given starting position and of given frequency. So the value of x omega at given omega is not the amplitude, is not the radius, or to be very precise, it's a 2D number. Here it is one dimensional. So radius and starting position. So a omega and phi omega. But the value of x omega at given omega is not the amplitude, but it is the relative strength of amplitude amongst different frequency components. So what is the actual amplitude? Actual amplitude is, now listen very carefully, x omega delta omega, or we can say d omega also. D and delta we use interchangeably, but there is some logic. So, this delta, either you can have this delta or you can have this delta. I am trying my level best. So, at given omega, what I do, at given omega, I have what? X omega. I multiplied by an infinitesimally small value delta omega. What that delta omega is, we will come to that. So, x omega delta omega is the amplitude of the rotating point at omega. म्हणजे ओमेगा या एखाद्या सिक्वेन्सचा डिस्क्रीट टाइम फुरियर ट्रान्सफॉर्म काढल्यानंतर जी फंक्शन मिळतं एक्स ओमेगा इक्वल टू 1 प्लस कॉस ओमेगा, म्हणजे प्रत्येक ओमेगाला एक्स ओमेगाची काय ती व्हॅल्यू असणार. ती व्हॅल्यू काय आहे, तर ती व्हॅल्यू नुसती काहीच नाही, तर ती व्हॅल्यू इनटू इन्फिनिटिझमली स्मॉल क्वांटिटी डेल्टा ओमेगा. हो, हा जो प्रॉडक्ट आहे, दिस प्रॉडक्ट इज दी radius along with angle. So, this product is the starting position of the rotating point at n equal to 0. Azun, I am trying my level best. Given sequence, whatever it may be periodic sequence, it may be a periodic sequence, it may be of finite length, it may be of infinite length. For whatever sequence we have, I am claiming that I am able to express it as summation of multiple rotating points. When I say rotating points, rotating point will rotate on a circle with given angular speed. The radius of the circle will also be different for different rotating points. So, speed is given, radius is given, but it is not completely specified because the position at n equal to 0 is also to be given. So, what is x omega delta omega? X omega delta omega, this product with delta omega tending to 0, infinitesimally small, this x omega delta omega is nothing but the starting position at n equal to 0 of the rotating point of the subcomponent of frequency omega. And how many such subcomponents are there? Infinite such subcomponents are there. So, infinite rotating points result into this. How I can prove this? Now, what is this delta omega? Now I explain to you. What we do, so x omega is a continuous function which tells me weights of infinite subcomponents. But infinite subcomponents I cannot imagine at once. So, what I will do? I will try instead. So, what is I am claiming? Based on by taking help of discrete time Fourier transform, values of the discrete time Fourier transform for various omegas, I am able to represent different rotating points, and I claim that they sum to my given sequence. So, what I do now? But the problem here is that infinite rotating points, that I will make finite. So, what I do? What is the range of omega? Meaningful range is 2 pi. So, this 2 pi, this span of 2 pi, I divide into odd number of strips. What I do? This part I divide in odd number of strips. How many? Substantially large. Listen very carefully, substantially large. Let us say, we keep same 2m plus 1 strips. I divide the horizontal axis, omega axis into 2m plus 1 strips. After dividing it into 2m plus 1 strips, what I do, how I divide? Let us say if I decide to divide into how many, you can start with one strip is no division, 3 strips. If you decide to divide into 3 strips, how the 3 strips would be? Each strip would be of 2 pi by 3, that is 120 degrees. So, from 0, from minus pi by 3, but sometimes angle is better, in degrees is better. So, minus pi by 3 to plus pi by 3 is middle strip, minus pi to minus pi by 3 is left hand strip, pi by 3 to pi is right hand strip. So, let us give the strips. Now, you can write a MATLAB program, assuming that you are experts in writing MATLAB program. What I am telling you now, you can prepare a MATLAB program. So, what we do, I am going very slow because we have ample time. We divide this into 3 strips, that is 180, 180, of that I will carve out 60, 60, that is minus pi by 3 to pi by 3, and I make this strip. Actually something is wrong, it should be half, that is not to the scale, but anyway that is not so important. So, by dividing discrete time Fourier transforms omega axis into odd number of strips. Odd number of strips, first odd number is 1, so it is no division, so we start with next odd number, it is 3. So, what we get when we divide into 3 strips, each strip would be of 120 degrees. Each strip would be of 120 degrees. So, in each strip is of 120 degrees, what I do, I now try, what is the theme? That the based on discrete time Fourier transform represents the amplitude of rotating points. So, what I do, I say that the center of all these 3 strips, what is the center of the middle strip? 0. What is center of this strip? And what is center of this strip? 0, 60, 120, that is 2 pi by 3 and minus 2 pi by 3. So, understanding infinity is not so easy, but we can understand some finite things. So, now listen very carefully. So, how to interpret DTFT? Once I find DTFT, in this case it is real number. In case of some other thing it will be complex number, but that also we can do it very easily. So, this DTFT I divide it into odd number of equal parts. Then I compute area of each part. So, I am trying my level best, I am assuming that wisdom will prevail and everybody will understand everything. So, I have divided the given DTFT function into 3 equal parts on horizontal axis. I compute area of each part. I compute middle point of each of these parts on omega axis, and then I claim my claim is not correct, but I will slowly take you to correct thing. Then I claim that if I choose to have 3 subcomponents. I now choose 3 subcomponents of which value, of which frequencies? Middle of each strip, that is 2 pi by 3, 0 and minus 2 pi by 3, 0 and plus 2 pi by 3. So, I can say that I will call this as x0n, x subscript 0n, x subscript 1n is this, and x subscript minus 1n is this. So, the 3 subcomponents are x0n, x1n and x minus 1n. What is x0n? x0n is the rotating point, x0n is the rotating point at an angular speed of omega, or I will say omega 0, and in this case, so I again repeat, it is a rotating point rotating in clockwise direction, it is positive, rotating in anti-clockwise direction. So, what I can say, it is e raised to j omega 0n. So, omega 0 is the middle frequency of the middle strip. This is e raised to j omega 1n, and it is e raised to j omega minus 1n. This minus 1 is not minus, it is just the index value I will replace, and each of them will have magnitude a0, a1, a minus 1, a minus 1. So, what I do, I decide that I start very slowly, I would not jump to conclusion. I have DTFT with me. So, based on DTFT, I decide that I will prepare 3 subcomponents first. How I prepare? Dividing DTFT into equal strips, calculate area of this strip. So, this area of this strip there will be some value, area of this strip will have some value, area of this strip will have some value. Each strip will have middle point. Then the corresponding components are the middle component x0n is having an amplitude a0. What is that a0? That a0 is nothing but area of the middle strip in this case. In this case, x omega is directly this value. Otherwise, if x omega is complex, then you need to separately have mod x omega, and you also need to have separately angle x omega. So, you get 2 curves, mod x omega, angle x omega. You have 2 strips, you find out the area of each strip for this particular middle frequency and corresponding average angle. For amplitude you take this, and for average angle you take the average of the angle which is there for this entire range. So, here you take the sum, there you take the average. So, this is area of middle strip. This A1 is area of this strip, and this A minus 1 is area of this strip. What is omega 0? This omega 0 is the frequency of at the center of the strip. It is 0 in this case. Frequency at the center of the last strip, it is 2 pi by 3. it is minus 2 pi by 3. What are the values of area? You can compute later on. This area you can compute, this area, it is symmetric. So, A1 and A minus 1 will be same, and this middle will be large, these two will be small areas. So, I get 3 subcomponents. So, by using these 3 subcomponents, if I have this, so x0 n will be one sequence, for n equal to 0, n equal to 1, n equal to 2, n equal to 3, it will have continuous sequence. X0, x1 equal to 1 is some sequence, x minus 1 will be some other sequence. So, these sequences I will get. Unfortunately, these all are periodic sequences. Especially this is constant sequence because this is 0 and other two are periodic. So, their summation will repeat and this will never be equal to this. But I will not accept defeat like this. Then what I do? Then I will choose next odd number. What will happen then? I will divide it into 5 equal parts. Then somebody of you will come, why 5 sir? I will divide it into 7 equal parts. Then somebody will say 9 equal parts. So, in general you will try to divide it into 2m plus 1 equal parts with m tending to infinity. And as you do this, what will be width of each strip? Width of each strip would be 2 pi upon 2m plus 1, that is called as delta omega. This is called as delta omega, and as it tends to infinity, this strip will tend to 0. So, the area will be reducing because strip width is reducing. Then, but the strip width is equal for all strips. So, the area now see, if I have infinitesimally small strips of equal length and varying equal width, and see delta omega is the width. So, as delta omega tends to 0, strips will become smaller, smaller, smaller. So, this is one strip, this is other strip, and again that width is reducing. So, each strip width is reducing infinitesimally small. So, areas all are as good as 0, in just like infinity, which is very large, infinitesimal is very small. So, in all infinities are not equal, similarly all infinitesimals or all zeros are not equal. Therefore, this small strip, both areas are becoming almost 0, but this area is more than this area. So, what I again repeat is the discrete time Fourier transform, by using values of discrete time Fourier transform, it is possible to express the given sequence into different subcomponents. Each of them is a rotating point, but the thing is that these subcomponents are infinite in number and the magnitude of each is infinitesimally small, but despite it being infinitesimally small, the discrete time Fourier transform tells the relative strength of that subcomponent. All are almost zeros, but one is more and one is less. So, in infinite components, the magnitude of every component is infinitesimal, but the magnitude of this component is definitely more than this component. So, I again repeat, x omega is not the amplitude of the discrete subcomponent. X omega is relative amplitude of the discrete subcomponent. Amplitude of all subcomponents is infinitesimally small, and x omega, delta omega, with delta omega tending to 0. As delta omega is not 0, you can divide it this width of 2 pi into 1 lakh 1 component, 1 lakh 1 strips, 2 lakh 1 strips, 10 lakh 1 strips, and so on. And as you do this, you can write a MATLAB program, you will find that you come close to this. The sequence will repeat when? After sample 1 lakh, after sample 10 lakhs, after sample 1 crore, and as it tends to 0, strip width tends to 0, number of subcomponents become infinite. So, the sequence will repeat this minus 1 0 1. So, there is half 1 half, it will repeat after 1 lakh samples, but it is not. So, as it repeats, this never repeats. So, reconstructed by you using this will repeat after 1 lakh. So, it is wrong, but not one. If you reconstruct by using 10 lakh 1 components, then it will repeat after 10 lakh. If you use infinite components, it will repeat after infinite samples, means it will not repeat. So, this is the concept of discrete time Fourier transform. I tried my level best to explain, even though we have ample time, we do not have infinite time. So, we have to stop this discussion. We will go for properties of discrete time Fourier transform, then application of discrete time Fourier transform in discrete systems, that we will do, and we will address queries of students, if any, in the interaction session, maybe in the beginning of next week. So, now we can, so this was very condensed discussion. You must have also been very much exhausted. So, let us have a lighter mood discussion now, which is very simple. Different properties of discrete time Fourier transform. The properties which you can read and understand from the book or notes or something else, that I will not spend any time. The first property, normally you will find, you must be knowing that the various properties. First property is almost all things are linear. So, linearity. What is the meaning of linearity property? If I have got a sequence x1n and its DTFT exists, its DTFT is x1 omega. If I have another sequence x2n, its DTFT exists, it is x2 omega. If I prepare a signal x3n by linear combination of these two, A x1n plus B x2n, if that is x3n, then if I find discrete time Fourier transform x3 omega, means what I do, I take one signal, find its transform, I take one sequence, find its transform, I take another sequence, find its transform, I prepare third sequence by linear combination of these two sequences, find its transform first separately, and this transform must be equal to A x1 omega plus B x2 omega, and this is called as linearity, that is summation of transformation of linear combination of sequences is linear combination of transforms. I again repeat, this is transformation, DTFT, discrete time Fourier transform, discrete time Fourier transform, discrete time Fourier transform. Transformation of x3n, what it is? Linear combination. Transformation of linear combination is linear combination of transforms. I again repeat, it is very simple. Transformation of linear combinations is linear combination of transforms. So, that is not so important. The next is shift property, which is useful on many occasions. Shift property is, I have a sequence xn. I will explain what is a shift, otherwise it is somewhat confusing unnecessarily. Either you do not think at all, or if you start thinking, you get confused. Suppose if xn sequence I have got is at n equal to 0 it is 1, at n equal to 1, 0, 1, at n equal to 1 it is 2, 1, 2, at n equal to 2 it is again 2 and 0 elsewhere. This is a sequence. So, values are 0, 0, 1, 2, 2, 0 and 0 throughout. This is xn. Suppose if I shift the sequence by left or right is also confusing. Suppose if what is xn minus 1, how I compute xn minus 1? Xn minus 1, how do I compute? So, there are, see, it is, once you become comfortable, it is very easy. So, what we can have, I will have, we go by simple method, let m be equal to n minus 1, let m be equal to n minus 1. So, the sequence is given like this. So, xm would be the same sequence. Xm, see, shifting the samples is not so easy. I am explaining it in very simple manner. So, let m be equal to n minus 1. So, I get it as xm is this, means what is m? M is equal to 0 here, minus 1 here, minus 2 here, 1 here, 2 here, 3 here. So, m is equal to this. Let m be equal to n minus 1. So, what is n? N is equal to m plus 1. So, you put n here. N is m plus 1. So, it is minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, just you write that. So, again you draw a similar sequence, or you can draw the sequence here. So, you draw the same sequence. See, exactly sample below sample. Only thing is that what is n, and else it is 0. Write this value of n. So, n is 0, minus 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, what you have done, this was the sequence like this. This is the shifted sequence. Given sequence xn, shifted sequence xn minus 1. So, what you have done? What I did is that, so how these two look like? This is here, it is shifted right. So, at 0 it was 1, now 1 has gone to 1, so it is shifted right. So, x of n minus 1 is I am shifting the sequence right, that is for given sequence for n equal to 0 it was 1. So, this sequence will be giving me for n minus 1 equal to 0, that is for n equal to 1, that is this if I say as x1n, x, or I use this as x1n, I use this as x2n as shifted of x1n. So, if x1n is original sequence, then x2n is a shifted sequence, that x2n is shifted sequence of shifted sequence x1 by 1. So, what happens is the x1n for n equal to 0 becomes x2n for n equal to 1. So, this is shift. So, n minus 1 means I am shifting right, I am shifting the entire sequence right, or I am shifting the axis left. I am shifting the sequence right, or I am shifting the axis left. So, what is the relationship of DTFT in this case? So, shift, I am trying my level best, because otherwise you understand shift property, but you will not know what is shifting of a sequence. What is shifting of a sequence? So, if x1n is transformed into x1 omega, or 1 sometimes people do not use, then let x2n be equal to xn minus 1, or let x2n be equal to xn minus 1. In that case, the question is, what is x2 omega? Is DTFT. Listen carefully. I have a given sequence. The given sequence having some DTFT which I know. Then for new sequence I can find DTFT, no problem. By first principles, I always can find derivative for any given function, but I need not use first principle always, because that will be time consuming, unnecessary reinventing the wheel. Therefore, the question here is it possible to find out this x2 omega based on this? That is, whether the discrete DTFT of a shifted sequence is related to original DTFT. So, how do I do? So, simply what is my x2? So, what is x2 omega? x2 omega is simple, go by first principle, n equal to minus infinity to infinity, x2n e raised to minus j omega n, x2n e raised to minus j omega n. But I know what is x2n. What is x2n? x2n is xn minus 1, summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x n minus 1 e raised to minus j omega n, x n minus 1 e raised to minus j omega n. So, what is x omega, which I already know? X omega is n equal to minus infinity to infinity x n e raised to minus j omega n. Then what I want some kind of relationship between this value and this value. How I can establish relationship? So, that we do by simple technique. That is, so I write this. So, x2 omega is equal to summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x of n minus 1 e raised to minus j omega n, that is equal to. What I want this and this to be same. I want this and this to be same, and this should be here. So, here there is a difference now. So, I will use one identity, let, so I rub it out, let m be equal to n minus 1. So, what is n? M plus 1. And what are the limits? What are the limits? When n is equal to m plus 1, n is equal to m plus 1. The both limits are infinite. So, it is very easy. So, limits when I put m equal to n minus 1, n equal to m plus 1 or m equal to n minus 1. So, here it is n. So, n equal to m plus 1. So, what are the limits? Both being infinity, limits will not change. If this would have started from 0, when n was 0, what is m? M is minus 1. If limits were starting from 0 for n, they would have changed for minus 1 for m, but as it is infinite, they do not change. So, I can very safely say m equal to minus infinity to infinity again, because it does not matter in x of m, because m is equal to n minus 1, e raised to minus j omega into m plus 1, n is m plus 1. So, in exponent, summation gives me very simple solution. So, what that it is, I repeat again step by step, no rush through. M equal to minus infinity to infinity, m equal to minus infinity to infinity, x of m e raised to minus j omega m in, I think now it is e raised to minus j omega m into e raised to minus j omega into e raised to minus j omega. So, what I can do, I can write it as e raised to minus j omega, because addition in exponent is multiplication, right? It is very easy. So, what is this? Whether this e raised to minus j omega is containing any term related to m, it is not containing. So, this I can take outside. So, that is equal to e raised to minus j omega into bracket m is equal to minus infinity to infinity x m e raised to minus j omega m. And now you look at this summation. This summation is exactly what we have here. So, this is nothing but e raised to minus j omega x of omega. So, x2 omega is this. So, if x n is having a dt of t as x omega, x of n minus 1 will have a dt of t of e raised to minus j omega into x omega, like this. Now, what I do, I will not be m minus 1, what I have done, n minus 1. In general, it can be for any shift, minus or plus. So, I can say shift by n naught. If I shift by x, n minus n naught, what it would be? N naught positive, n naught negative, both are possible. So, if it is so, no change will be there, only difference would be n naught is finite number. So, n minus n naught, m plus n naught, this being infinity, this being infinity, no change, x of m no change, m plus n naught minus j omega m plus j omega n naught. This n naught there is no problem because it is not coming in m. So, it will come, it comes out j omega n naught e raised to minus j omega n naught. So, minus j omega n naught. So, discrete time Fourier transform would be e raised to minus j omega n naught x omega. So, a shift by n naught results into a multiplication by e raised to minus j omega n naught. So, a sequence and a transform is there. When I shift the sequence by n naught, the transform gets multiplied by e raised to minus j omega n naught, where n naught is a real constant, integer constant, real integer, or it is an integer, it can be positive or negative. This is called as shift property of DTFT. So, linearity property, shift property, there is a complementary shift. What is meaning of shifting or multiplying by something in omega domain? It is just exactly complementing to this. So, this transforms to this. So, there is no need right now to consider that shift. So, once fundamental shift property we have discussed, we will go for next very most important property. Most important property what we go for is, what is the there are two actually, very interesting, which we should take first. Convolution is what we have learnt right in the first semester. Also we discussed something in continuous domain convolution. Discrete convolution we discussed in the in the pre-mid-sem part of first semester. We will continue to have some further discussion on convolution. So, we have got x1n as one sequence. It is having DTFT as x1 omega. x2n is another sequence. It is having DTFT as x2 omega. Then using x1n and x2n, I will construct one sequence which is x3n as a modulation or multiplication, we can say, is equal to x1n into x2n, sample to sample multiplication. And I will construct one more sequence that I will name as x4n as convolution. What is convolution? Or I will simply write convolution, which we have discussed many times. The formula is summation. What we have to have is one index we have to change. So, k equal to minus infinity to infinity x1 k x2 n minus k, or vice versa, because it is commutative. K equal to minus infinity to infinity x2 k x1 n minus k. So, the fundamental theme is, we have got two sequences, each of them is having its own discrete time Fourier transform. Then based on these two sequences, I can prepare a third sequence which is sample to sample multiplication of two sequences. I can prepare fourth sequence which is conversion of two sequences. The question now is, what would be its transform DTFT, how x3 omega is related to x1 omega and x2 omega, and how its DTFT x4 omega is again related to these two. So, two sequences, their transforms, some operations of sequences in sequence domain, what is the impact in transform domain. One operation is multiplication or called as modulation in standard terms, second operation is convolution. So, what is the impact? So, now which we should take first? We can take either. So, we take difficult first. So, we take this first, or because here also there will be double summation, here also there will be interesting. Let us take this first. So, what is x3 omega? X3 omega is simply we can write. So, x1n, x2n, I save the space. x1n is there, x2n is there, it has got its own transform x1 omega, x2 omega, Now I have prepared a sequence x3n is equal to x1n multiplied by x2n. So what is its x3 omega? By formula x3 omega is simple, is equal to summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x3n e raised to minus j omega n. That's all. What I want how it is related to these two. What is x1 omega? Which I very well know. X1 omega is summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x1n e raised to minus j omega n, and x2 omega is equal to again n equal to minus infinity to infinity x2n e raised to minus j omega n. So what I want that whatever value I get for this x3 omega should have something connect with these two, that I should have. So how do I get that? This is question 1. So we will simplify to some extent. X3 omega is summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x1n x2n e raised to minus j omega n, and here I stop, because what I find that the simplification what I could do I have done. But what is the next problem? What is the next thing now? Somehow I should be able to have this separate, where here I am getting the product directly. Here I am getting the product directly. So what kind of substitutions which I am expected to make, so that I should get somehow I should get this separately, and this I should somehow get rid of. This I should somehow get rid of, because I can't separate out, because it is also having n. When n I am summing over n, what can come out? Only that thing can come out which does not include n. A thing which does not include n can come out. Here what is x1 omega is this into this, but this is coming there, so I am handicapped here. It is one way, one problem solving. Now the second is, we will discuss both because both are having very complementary symmetry. In today's session I will give introduction to both problems, and you are supposed to think it in detail on your own, and tomorrow we will solve both problems together. So what is this is one for multiplication. What is second one? x4n is equal to what? Convolution of x1n into x2n. So what is x4 omega? x4 omega is summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity x1n convolved with x2n e raised to minus j omega n. Now what is this convolution? For this convolution I have to write the formula. What is the formula? That formula is summation n equal to minus infinity to infinity. The convolution is summation k equal to minus infinity to infinity x1k x2 n minus k e raised to minus j omega n. So here what I have got? Here I have got double summation. Here what I have got? I have got a product. So, somehow what I want that somehow both this x4 omega as well as this x3 omega I should be able to find from these two. So, in the right hand side RHS of both, I should so what we have got? We have got two sequences, each of them is having discrete time Fourier transform which I know. Then I perform two different operations which are very similar in some aspect to each other. One operation is multiplying in sample domain, sample to sample multiplication. So, x3n is equal to x1n into x2n, sample to sample multiplication is one operation, and convolution is second operation. Convolution is a very complex operation which we have discussed many times in the first semester as well as in the pre-midsem part of the second semester. So, how do we find out DTFT of these, the sequences which we have got by operations on these basic two sequences? So, we have to find out DTFT of x3n and we have to find DTFT of x4n. When I say DTFT of x3n is simply x3n e raised to minus omega n, so that is equal to x1n into x2n e raised to minus omega n, and in case of step fourth, that is in case of the convolution, x4 omega is x1n convolved with x2n e raised to minus omega n. This convolution I express is summation over k. So, summation over n, summation over k, this I have to find out. This is something which is not simple, but it would be possible for you if you simply apply your knowledge which you have learned in the mathematics in first and in 11th and 12th for resolving infinite summation, their orders, interchanging their orders and so on and so forth. You should be able to get that. And this product, this, so what is end result? RHS of both sides should include, RHS of both sides must include x1 omega and x2 omega, something based on x1 omega and x2 omega. So, the transform DTFT of multiplication is something, DTFT of convolution is some other thing. I would like to give you a hint, even though I should not have given, but since we are coming to the end of the session. So, the hint is or actually the answer is, so that at least based on the answer you can think. x4 omega, which is, what is x4n? x4n is convolution of input sequences. DTFT of convolution is multiplication of transforms. So, transform of convolution of sequences is multiplication of individual transforms. So, x4 omega is x1 omega into x2 omega, and what is x3n? This x is capital, I forgot. What is x3n? x3n is sample to sample, x3n is sample to sample multiplication of sequences. So, x4 omega is x1 omega convol, it's x2 omega, it's continuous convolution because x omega is a continuous sequence. So, DTFT of multiplication is convolution of transforms and DTFT of convolution is multiplication of transforms. It is exactly complementary, symmetric to each other. Then in tomorrow's lecture, we will find out, we will prove these properties to very deeper at a deeper level, and then we will explore something further on how this DTFT relates to analyzing the discrete time systems. I think today it was also very much exhaustive. It is better to end today. Tomorrow we will continue further.